Hey everyone, this is South of Strange, a show where we share tales of the weird, unexplained, supernatural, and just downright strange. In this series, we've covered a couple of different haunted house stories, and now we're going to figure out what we think to be more true. I'm one of your hosts, Felipe, and I'm joined by Randy.
Hello, hello.
And by Art.
What's going on?
Well, guys, welcome. We've gotten to the end of our three-part series here on Haunting or Hoax. Now comes the fun part, the debate. So, just as a refresher, guys, let's go over our first story, Amityville. Back in 75, the Lutzes move into a home that was just the site of a grisly murder not even a year before. As soon as they move in, they start experiencing all kinds of paranormal shenanigans. They have a priest who goes to bless the home starts being attacked and yelled to get out. Family themselves start experiencing weird things. The husband's waking up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, the same exact time that the murders that happened, or that happened right around that exact same time. The mother's going through some weird stuff, like she's levitating above their bed. She's experiencing welts and wounds all over her chest. Their daughter is making friends with a demon pig who the parents swear that they see. Their two boys are levitating above their beds. And then in the last night, not even a month into them staying in this home, they just bolt. They leave everything that they own behind and never return to the home. Like, they send movers to get their stuff and just never look back at this house. Now, that's the spooky part of Amityville's story. The true crime part comes where a year before, Ronald DeFeo Jr. comes into his family's home in the middle of the night and kills his entire family, his parents and 4 siblings, all while they sleep. He uses a rifle that supposedly makes no noise because no neighbors have ever claimed to have heard him making using this rifle.
7 shots or 6 shots.
Yeah, I think we figured out it was like 1 or 2 to each parents and 1 to each, so each sibling. So yeah, it should have been like 8 in total. He goes on to say that anything from, a demon told me to do this, to, one of my sisters was a real one who committed the murder, and I was just trying to wrestle the rifle away from her, and now she's dead. It was known that he was a pretty heavy user of different drugs. There's definitely some doubt in him. Exactly. Then there's a book written about them, or about this entire incident, the hauntings in Amityville. Films get made, and then we start having people come out of the woodwork and say all this stuff was either BS or very heavily exaggerated. The priest supposedly never had contact with the family, and possibly the most damning piece of all is that the Lutz's attorney is the one that straight out says, no, we made up everything over one night of drinking wine.
Wow.
There's
the attorney that?
What's that?
The attorney admitted that?
Yeah, like in an interview, several interviews that he's given, he's talked about like, yeah, no, we made it up. I showed them, evidence of the crime scene, and they started elaborating on things.
We were there from about 9 or 10 in the evening to 3 in the morning, drinking wine. And I can't tell you how many bottles of wine we had, but it was many. I had photographs of the crime scene, and based upon the photographs and other facts that I had related, we developed what ultimately turned out to be part of the Lutz's version of the possession aspect of the case.
He does, in their defense, he does claim that they did say that they had some paranormal happenings, but they just added to everything once they started seeing pictures of the crime scene. Our second story takes place in the UK, Enfield. There's a small family, a divorced mom with 4 kids, and they start experiencing weird poltergeist phenomenon. Things are being thrown across the home. The children are hearing and seeing things. There's knockings all across the house again. One of the youngest daughters, Janet, she becomes the center of all of this, and she's either being attacked or feels like she's being suffocated. And then she starts having this weird, guttural, otherworldly voice projected from her, and they can't necessarily figure out how she does it.
Hello, Mr. Playfair. Margaret's asleep and I'm talking. Dad's asleep, we're asleep, Margaret's asleep.
This voice claims to be the spirit of a man who died in that house before this family moved in, which was later proven to be true. In both cases, we have Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are very famous demonologists that come over to investigate both claims, and they do give their blessing and saying that, or their seal of approval, saying that real things, real paranormal happenings were going on. But just like with the Lutzes, we start seeing the seams in both of these stories. With the girls in Enfield, they do claim that they made up some of the happenings. Although they say it's only 2%, still, things are made up. We have 2 paranormal investigators that are very much believing in them. They get some audio recordings and clips of this voice going back and forth. And I mean, you guys heard it. It's kind of hard to believe that a young girl can keep this up for so long. It seems to me a little bit more credible, but still not a slam dunk in terms of
percent genuine. Right?
Exactly. I still feel something's amiss here. But unlike the Lutzes, they don't straight out make money in films the way they did. Subsequently, films and books were eventually written, like The Conjuring Part 2 is based on the Enfield. And if you guys haven't seen any of the Conjuring movies, just as a side note, fantastic movies. Check them out. But our job here today, guys, is to come down on what we think is going to be more true between these stories. Let's start with Amityville. Art, what are your feelings there? Like, what I guess, what are the pros for you in terms of believing Amityville to be a genuine story?
The fact that 6 people were killed there a year before.
Okay.
That actually happened. So I would assume that one of those spirits would be left behind. That would make the most sense. At least one. I believe you said there was a photograph captured of a boy.
Yeah, there was
Supposedly,
a little demon boy that was captured on film. There are some people that say that could have just been a kid that was in in the home at the time of the investigation, but
somebody's son came along for the ride.
It's possible. Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
I'm definitely with you on there.
On that, I believe that's really about all.
Okay.
On the pros, because you said it was a lot of cons for me. If you said the lawyer, hey, we had a good night drinking, made a lot of this bullshit up. We hate drunk on wine. You start doing crazy things, and
We've
the
all
people
been
that
there.
moved into the home weren't exactly worshipers of God. You said they were.
Yeah, the father was already
were,
kind of into occult stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was already dabbling with that, with black magic, whatever you want to call it. So who knows? And he has that kind of mindset. And maybe he was out looking for it. Maybe that's what he wished. One of his fantasies. Hey, this is what we should do, and let's make up a story for 30 days and then leave. Just because to gain fame, and that's what they did. They absolutely gained fame from it. They got a book written, got movies made of it. Did they ever cash out on it? I mean, I don't know if they.
Yeah, no, they made money off of this.
So there you go.
Definitely
So they actually. So that's probably ultimately what the goal was, honestly. And somebody who, looks for that kind of stuff in life, hey, we put it into a real life situation. They captured it and got paid. So that's what I think.
Okay, Randy, what are your overall pros and cons for Amityville?
That was the story where they moved out, right?
Yeah, this is the story that within 28 days of living there, they jetted.
So that's the biggest tell on, like, in my mind, is the fact that they literally moved out of the house they bought less than a month ago. That legitimizes the story for me a little bit, because nobody in the right mind would move out of the house that they dropped maybe tens of thousands of dollars on.
It was $80,000. Remember, for this 4,000 square foot, dare I say, mansion, it was an amazing deal. And to just leave within a month, it's hard to believe someone does that just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, I bet it was a beautiful house as well. I feel like that really solidifies as like a legit haunting to me. Just that fact alone. That's a lot of money. A lot of money to let go. Whether that's $80,000, that's still a lot of money to anybody.
I'm definitely echoing both sentiments for you guys. Yes, I do feel like moving out of a house like this so abruptly cannot have been done without good reason. At the same time, if there was this horrific murder just a year before, obviously that's going to leave some sort of negative energy behind. And in every ghost story, movie, anything, what usually causes a haunting? Something shitty happened right before that leaves these ugly energies. Yeah, exactly right. Like, things are lingering behind, and that's what causes these paranormal happenings. So I feel like I'm with you in believing that this could be genuine just for that fact alone, that there is historical reason why this could be happening, and then you do have something as big as a family just up and leaving. Anybody, like the lawyer, could say, oh yeah, we had a falling out, so, you know,
bullshit.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't
it's all
get paid
bullshit.
the way I was supposed to get paid.
Exactly, right. They did go on record saying they had a falling out over money, so who's not to say he was upset and decided to make this claim. As for cons, again, they did make a lot of money, and just personally speaking, when it comes to these kind of situations, the first thing I look to see whether or not there's an angle here is who told the story and what did they get out of it. Usually they make money or have a whole career off of it. I tend to feel like maybe this was their intention. I've never been haunted, but I feel like I wouldn't necessarily, if it was bad enough, I really wouldn't want to gain money off of it as much as I would want to just move past it and continue with my life. But these people made this their entire livelihood, right? They had interviews, movies, books, everything's done with this stuff here. So that's what kind of takes away the genuine nature of this.
And I didn't even know all that until last week when we talked about it. I was like, really? So that was exactly, that kind of like just took a lot of the steam away from the story. I was like, wow.
It does. It really takes the wind out of the sails, if you will. As for Enfield, the poltergeist with the young girls, Randy, what are your thoughts?
That's definitely a faker story than the other one, because like the girls already started practicing bending spoons and using camera tricks and all that to kind of create superficial effects. That alone makes me think that could be a fabricated story, a fabricated haunting.
What would be your cause to believe them?
Maybe that whole voice thing. I've never met anybody that talented that can hold their voice like that, especially a young female girl. How old was she?
She was like 13 or 11. She was
a young teenager, preteen.
It takes some, that's some skill
Practicing.
that I think never in a 13-year-old. I don't see any 13-year-old female that practices that type of gurgling demonic voice. So
If she ever talked to me like that, I would probably punch her. 13-year-old girl, I'd punch her right in the face. Huh?
Wow, I'm pretty sure to edit out all of that part, but okay. But all right, that brings me to you. I mean, what are your thoughts on Enfield? Your pros and cons.
Kind of the same thing. The first night they call the cops. They do some tests. It's a bunch of. He said they had some witnesses there, hands-on, that experienced some of these events. So some eyewitnesses there that can kind of back up their story. Kind of makes it more real to me. The whole voice thing, that was kind of tough. Hearing that was a little. It was definitely eerie to hear. And then seeing those photos, they look like real life photos. But looking at the girls, they look happy, and smiley, and don't look too bothered. They're playing with the Ouija board, that always opens doors, and then willingly trying to do that at a young age, probably. Maybe that's what their interests were. Why do that? You don't know what's going to happen, and then maybe they've let something in, and they just exactly said, "Oh, well, let's exaggerate it. Let's make it more real." Obviously, like you said, the bending of the spoons, the camera tricks at 1978, whatever. I don't know what the hell you can do then, but why they doing that? Just so it's more believable. They can sell their story, and then for somebody to live there till 2003 the whole time, I don't know how you would do that. That happened to me one time, 2 times. Like you said, we all said we're not sticking around.
Yeah. I couldn't stay there more than maybe a few days after intense paranormal activity. I feel you guys for the most part. I mean, the fact that they're young kids who are going through, or their parents are going through a messy divorce, so obviously they're not getting positive attention for the most part. And then when these things start happening and they start having, people be interested in them and what they have to say, even though what they're saying is a ghost story, basically.
They're trying to sell it.
Yeah, they're getting positive reinforcement. So even if, like the Lutzes, there was some genuine seeds to this, who's to say these girls didn't decide, well, hey, we can get more of this positive reinforcement or positive attention if we just start making the story bigger. And then they went on, there's people that said specifically, hey, certain things started happening, like the voices started talking when we said that we need the voices to start talking. Or, hey, when we told the girls that poltergeists tend to cause fires, well, all of a sudden fires started to be going on.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we got that covered. Well, let me talk to my guy real quick.
let me talk to my people and see what we can get going on the fire side of things. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense to think that through all of this, they obviously have a reason to make it up. For me, the truth part of this lies on the side that they didn't really make anything out of it. They were made fun of for the most part within their community, and then you have more witnesses to this. Like, for instance, if this is in fact some elaborate hoax, how do the cops that went on record saying they saw something benefit from this in any way, shape, or form? Because their only involvement is that they gave an affidavit and then that's it. Like, they didn't continue as part of the main focal point of the story. They just had their part and then they were gone. Like, what did they have to gain from this? Sure, you have some of the paranormal investigators that obviously they're going to want things to be true so they can have a highlight within their career. And one of the guys, Gross, the man with the epic mustache, his daughter, who was also named Janet, had died like maybe a year before all this started happening. And he swears he had a moment where he felt like her spirit was reaching out to him. So it's kind of believable that he would have a much bigger investment in this particular story. But again, for me, they're kids. I can excuse to a certain degree them making things bigger than what they are for the sake of that kind of entertainment. I can't completely discount everything because of the witnesses we have involved and the fact that they didn't go on to make money off of this the way the Lutzes did. Like that's probably the biggest part, is that the Lutzes we have.
It's in the same period as well.
It is all within the same period, so it's easy to believe, like Randy had mentioned before, that this could all just be them being copycats.
Influenced.
Or influence at the very least about this. And again, like I think we mentioned it once or twice already, but The Exorcist came out just years before any of this stuff happened. So
that was kind of like, oh, well, damn. And it was good for that time. The only time I ever saw that was 19 something. It was in the late 90s, and that scared the shit out of me.
Absolutely. I've still blacked out most of it from my memory. It's too terrified. But
so that's it. That's what set the tone, and people just wanted a piece of that. And sure enough, that's what I think. And maybe some of the stuff is true on both stories, but it's just exaggerated just to make it more interesting. Then I think we can agree that for the most part, there are obviously pieces of these stories that are exaggerated for the sake of selling the story. But if we have to come down and say which of these two stories we believe to be more true than the other, let's start this with a vote. Between the three of us, who believes Amityville to be more of a true story? Yeah.
All right. So then is it safe to assume that we're all believing that it is in fact Enfield that is more of a true story in this case?
I would say so.
All right, guys. So again, for me, it comes down to the fact that we have a family who gained nothing out of this miserable shit that they went through.
Too.
Yeah, exactly, right? They gained nothing. They were stuck in this home until at least the mother died. The daughters obviously grew up and moved away, but they stuck with this shit for years, giving interviews and just seeming like they still wanted nothing to really do with this, but accepting what had happened. And then you have witnesses, right? We have police people that came and saw this, that gave, certified statements that they saw something actually happened, who again would have no reason to, no way to gain anything from saying these things. You have, for the most part, certified people that work within this field of paranormal happenings that have gone and come here and said, yes, in fact, things are happening. We have actual proof, if you will, through sources of videotapes or audio recordings of these voices coming through. And the voices themselves, we're not understanding how a young girl can just do these so easily without messing up or fucking up her vocal cords, even for just temporarily or permanently for the rest of her life.
To me, that recording sounded pretty real to me, and gave me the jeepers.
Jeepers indeed.
Yep, I have same concept as Art. Man, that voice, that's the one that really won me over.
Yeah, that sticks with you. Well, guys, this has been fun. We have gone through 2 high-profile cases from the U.S. and one from the U.K. And in the end, we are deciding that it has to be Enfield Poltergeist being the true story between the two. Perhaps later, if we can continue this, we can come back and revisit the story in a little bit more detail. But for right now, I think we've got the gist of it out. And I had a lot of fun researching it. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun listening to it and participating. And as for our viewers, hopefully you guys had some fun just along with us and following the ride here. Really, we want to know what you guys think. Like, this is just our decision. If you think we're insane and it's got to be Amityville that's more true, please leave a comment either on YouTube or on Facebook. Again, you can follow us on Facebook.
Randy's address, it's
it is 83 but yeah, guys, let us know.
Soon be on the market. UK 1, USA 0.
I mean,
scores.
That's true. That's true. If we're keeping scores, UK 1, US 0. But again, guys, you can follow us on Facebook at South of Strange, on Instagram at South of Strange. Actually, just South of Strange, all lowercase, and Twitter at South of Strange, the number 3. As always, like and subscribe. That way you can know when our next series is coming up. We're still in the works on what that's going to be, but it should be pretty fun. Until then,
Stay creepy.
I like that one. That's going to be our new. All right, everybody. Stay strange.